That's a long intro. Hey, I'm Jim Csek, and I'm with Kent Molgat. We're doing another episode of Energized, and we're talking about a couple things that we got updates in the Energized world. And Rivian announced this weekend.
Rivians are those vehicles that have the kind of really interesting oval-shaped headlights.
Yeah, you see a few of them in town. There's quite a few pickups in town, I think. And actually, I've seen a couple of their R1Ts, I think they're called. The SUV kind of look like a Ford Expedition, I guess, or whatever. Right?
Kind of a rounded square, a unique kind of look, but that's all I know about them.
They're expensive. I think the R1, the truck is over $100,000, $112,000. And then the R1T, and a friend of mine bought one, and I think he paid $150 for it. So Rivians are kind of out of the price range for most people, but this past weekend, or on Friday, I think, Rivian dropped that they're putting out 3 new models, and Nick's going to run a clip here for us. And this is their, can we talk over this? Yeah, so this is their new R1, or R2, I should say. So this is supposed to be their more entry-level vehicle. It's kind of like what Tesla did.
Did you say $150,000?
No, this is their smaller version of the $150,000 one. This one should start at $45 US.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, $45 US for this one. And so they announced that on Friday. They had 68,000 orders.
Okay, so these are people, were you buying like a couple of years in advance?
Yeah, pre-orders. Yeah, I think they're due for shipping in 2026.
How much money do you have to lay down for that?
$150 Canadian. $150. I put one in. I put an order in.
That's nothing.
$150 and fully refundable. So if you're looking at getting an R2, you can put your money down for an R2.
Okay, what else do you know about this vehicle? It looks like it looks like spacious inside.
So they've geared this one to a lot of camping. Like if you go on their website, a lot of camping accessories for it. And the seats. Right. One of the unique features in this vehicle, all the seats fold down, not just the rear seats. The front seats as well, the driver's and passenger seat fold down to give you a full bed in there for camping. Oh. And they got a tent that they have that actually goes on the roof and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a lifestyle vehicle. That's what they're trying to do.
You could live in that. You could.
So there's a YouTube video of a guy living in his Model Y Tesla. So you could.
Yeah. No kitchen though.
There's attachments to put a kitchen in there. So that was big news out of the Rivian. They got 68,000 orders in 24 hours, and they only produced 50,000 vehicles last year. That's all they made. So they got 68,000 orders in a matter of 24 hours. So
is this company, really starting to, cut into the market? Is it?
I think that they're putting out a good product. They're definitely losing money on each vehicle. They're definitely in the, scaling. They're in that place. And this is where they say they need to scale, and no different than Tesla.
This is one Bezos is involved with.
He's got some money in it for sure.
He's one of the richest people in the whole world.
He's got some money in it.
So he can afford
So when Tesla's model was, they built the Roadster, and they used the money from the Roadster to build the Model S, which is, still a low production vehicle. And then they used that money to build the X, still a low production vehicle.
So some of these ones that are just pricing me way out.
Yeah, they're low production vehicles. He used it to get to the point where he built the Model 3, which was a high production vehicle. And then after the Model 3 came the Model Y, which is now the best selling vehicle in the world. Not EV, the best selling car of all cars. The Model Y is. And again, because of price range in Canada right now, a Model 3 and a Model Y, they're the same price right now, the Model 3 and the Model Y. They're $53,990, less $9,000 in the US if you qualify. So $5,000 off on the Fed credit, and then $4,000 on a BC credit if you qualify.
So it's 40-something.
Yeah, for a brand new Tesla. So they are come down in price, and I think Tesla's goal is to make this new Model 2, I think they're calling it, and they're trying to do $25,000. So that's the goal of that one. So they're trying to bring the prices down. So
wow,
good news. So we also did a show, you and I did one a little while back, and we talked about used EVs in BC.
Right, yeah.
No tax, right? No tax if you buy it privately. And then you came to me today and you said you saw a Chevy Bolt.
Yeah.
And then Nick's got some pictures here to show you. So I did a little search on Auto Trader. Now they have can you actually pull up that first one there that shows how many are available? They actually on Auto Trader now, right there in the top left corner, I did a search just in provincially for electric vehicles. There's 850 used ones for sale in British Columbia. So there's some selection there, right? So, and then the next one's that Chevy Bolt there. You said you were looking at a Chevy Bolt.
Yeah.
And then there's a 2019 Chevy Bolt. I can't see the mileage with my eyes here. $25,000. I don't think it had high miles. What's the mileage say on there, Nick? Should be on the top. 23,000 K. So it's
so low mileage and 25,000.
Barely driven. Obviously, you know, like that's no range. It took them that long to get that.
Well,
far.
I'm not sure that that's a 2019 because this is the thing.
That's a 4-year-old vehicle.
Some of these older ones, I'm not too worried about the wear and tear. I'm just worried about these earlier renditions. Some of them have pitifully short range.
Yeah, this one says it has a decent range, and it also says the battery warranty is still 2031.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then there's a couple other Chevy Bolts just to show you that there's quite a few of these Bolts out there. There's a 2020 for $25K, and then you got another one there, Nick.
Okay.
Okay. Then let's just. There's a couple Teslas there to see.
Yeah. So I mean,
Well, that's a Model S. So that one is unique in a way. That's free supercharging for life. So that means you can go to any Tesla supercharger, free supercharging for life.
Where's that one?
That's one in, and I can't see it from here, but
okay. Wow. Okay.
Where's that one, Nick?
In
Sydney. So there you go, on the island.
And it's in that sweet spot of free charging for life.
And free connectivity. So this thing is hooked up. I mean, this thing's basically, you can drive this thing for free. No gas, no electricity. You can pull into any supercharger, Tesla supercharging, and charge that thing. And as long as the wheels are still turning.
Right.
That's a pretty good deal.
It is a good deal. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still driving
and no tax on it.
I'm still driving my ICE vehicle, but I don't see myself buying another one. Right, as I've said before.
What do you got? We got enough. So here's a newer vehicle. This is a Tesla Model 3.
Okay.
I like when they say cruise control, sunroof, and backup camera. I mean, all of them have that. Right? It's just Teslas come basically fully loaded. So this one is like for $28,500. I mean, that one is in a dealership, so you will pay GST on this one. No PST though, right? So you will pay GST on this used vehicle.
Hang on.
If you buy it at a dealership.
At a dealership. Private sale, no tax.
No tax. Because there is no GST on private sales, just that the PST is at 12%.
Oh, okay.
And there's no PST.
Now,
confusing.
Right. Speaking of confusing, you were talking about the Model 3 and the Model Y, same price. What's the difference in the cars?
So the reason that the Model 3 and the Model Y are the same price right now for the brand new ones, for the 2023 or 2024s, the Model 3 had a refresh. So the Model 3 has some, I think it has about 10% more range, and it has this fancy lighting inside, a little sleeker, a little more aerodynamic.
So the 3 is slightly fancier than the Y?
Yeah, and they put a screen in the back seat now. And the Model Y hasn't had that refresh yet. It's coming, so they've marked the Y down to compete with the 3 because it doesn't have the refresh. And
so you mean it starts out as a slightly more luxury vehicle, but it doesn't have the upgrades. So it's
the Y is the SUV version of the 3, basically.
Oh, okay.
So it's a bigger vehicle.
Bigger.
It's a bigger vehicle.
All right.
But it doesn't have the refresh yet. I think the refresh is coming. I think there's a code name out there, Jupiter or something like that.
It needs a screen in the back. I'll be driving.
Yeah, there you go, right? Well, they got phones in the back. They can look on their phone, right? Yeah, so right now there's a good deal on the Ys. The Ys are typically $5,000 more than the 3s, and they just marked them down just recently on Canadian sites. And I think a lot of people are taking advantage. Again, best-selling car in the world is the Tesla Model Y.
The Model Y. I think it sounds like the better deal. Who needs those upgrades?
Recently purchased a used Model X for my daughter. And it's a few years old, and it's just like a brand new car too. I mean, the thing is, mine's a new one, and the software inside the 2020 is the same as what's going on. That's the thing about Teslas is they update the software. You get everything that's in the other one.
But in general, we're talking about the fact that you look at these prices and then factor into it. Once you buy a vehicle, you got to maintain that. And overall, what's your feeling in terms of, if you keep a car for a decade, how much more would you spend on an ICE vehicle on maintenance of every sort than you would on an electric vehicle?
The maintenance on like I'm just going to say the Tesla, for instance, because that's my experience, right? It's basically washer fluid and tires is going to be your biggest maintenance things. There's no oil changes.
Right. So there's the one point where, because electric cars are a little bit heavier. Not that much, like 25% maybe, more than a similar car, you might wear out the rubber a little faster. So, okay, tires.
And they accelerate like crazy, so you might wear them out even a little faster.
Right. So, okay, tires maybe a tiny bit more, but everything else, like there's not much to maintain.
Well, there's no oil changes. There's no spark plugs. There's no injectors. There's no radiators to flush. There's no transmission.
Overall, as a percent, what would you guess? 60%?
If I had to guess, I don't know, 75, 80.
75, 80.
You told me to be less crazy about the number.
Don't go crazy and say 95, but a lot less to maintain.
Well, there's like brakes. There's people that are saying they're getting 1 million miles on a Tesla because it's regenerative braking. So I rarely touch the brakes in my vehicle. The only time I've ever really used the brakes is if I have to do an emergency stop.
Right. And a deer runs in front of you or something.
Yeah. And that's the only time I've actually used the brakes. For the most time, it's like a golf cart. You let off the gas and it kind of stops.
Right.
Right. So, braking, well, the biggest cost in most, if you think about a nice car, you're replacing brakes every couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And then rotors. And then oil changes a couple times a year. And for my truck, an oil change was $800. Most people are probably paying like $150 for an oil change.
And the other thing is, there's always nagging things like, oh, maybe it's time to get an oil change. I'm not sure. Oh, and the brakes don't feel exactly right. Should I take it in? All these things.
The brakes are a big one and expensive one.
So it's not just the money, it's also the worry.
Yeah. And the brakes are an expensive one for a lot of people. And lots of times you go to those places, they say, oh, you get free brakes for life because they grind your rotors down. And when you come back in, they're just like, oh, you can have the brake pads for free, but the rotors are like $500 a rotor, right? Yeah. So, and when you go to like a lube shop, they're typically going to tell you to flush your radiator, do your transmission. You got a rear end in the car. Some cars with four-wheel drive will have a front end. You know what I mean? There's so many moving parts. Spark plugs obviously is one.
Right.
So many moving parts in a gasoline car for sure. The one thing that I think most people get out of a gasoline car, and I've owned a lot, is definitely it's something you're used to. It's like that relationship you've had for 30 years. You're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Even though you might believe it's toxic.
And there's a certain charge you get out of when you put your
and you get the noise.
I mean, you don't get that.
I understand the Porsches, the EV Porsches
are they going to add that?
They're adding it in there, so you can dial your noise up to whatever you want,
so you can feel it.
So you can get that rumble, whatever that rumble is that you need.
Yeah.
And I understand there's some Tesla add-ons that you can add to your Tesla too, so you can make it sound like a Lamborghini and pop and all that too, right? So if you need it. But again, I think the things we want to stress, though, there's 850 used vehicles that if you buy privately in BC, they're not all private. But if you buy a private used EV, you'll pay no tax, and that can be substantial savings. And even on $25,000, you're saving,
including that Model S in Sydney. That's a
oh my God, that's a screaming deal. If that thing can run for a while, that's basically saying if somebody sold you a car and said you have free gasoline for life, right? Like you'd say, what?
Wow.
Right? Free gasoline. So that they did that. Teslas did that on their Model S's, I believe, up to 2016. I think they did free supercharging for life.
Off and on. It seems really hit and miss.
Yeah, they turn it off and on every now and then when they were trying to like increase sales and stuff like that. But none of the new ones are offered. I think you get 3 months free supercharging and stuff like that. And again,
so that is a unicorn thing.
I guess if you believe in unicorns, yes, it's a unicorn.
I do now.
They're not that supercharging is very expensive anyway, but again, if you're doing some road trips and you get free supercharging, well, that's a pretty nice perk. Yeah. And inside the older Teslas is very similar to, like, they don't change much, and they're very, very what you call minimalistic kind of design, right?
Yeah.
And their software is unrivaled, I believe. That's what you're not going to get in that Chevy Bolt. You may get a very what you call a low mileage, very economical car, and maybe if it's just a back and forth to work thing.
If I was going to be critical of the interior design, you could call it boring. There isn't much. It's just nothing.
Yeah, it's very I wouldn't say it's minimalistic, but it's very like,
I
like
think you could.
the Chevy brand is very like at their high end is very luxurious inside, like lots of leather and lots of stuff. Their lower end brands tend to be lots of plastic and
you look at the other options away from Tesla, and the whole dashboard is usually just got more going on. There's
it's a matter of preference though too, right?
Yeah.
But I would say like the software in the Teslas is second to none for sure.
Right.
And the thing is, you're getting those updates when you buy even that older one. You're getting all the updates, and they usually you get some pretty good gifts.
Right.
And when they do the software updates,
the car
right?
can, while you own it, can get better.
Yeah, so if you are lucky enough to get one that had full self-drive in it too, which is anywhere from a $10,000 to $16,000 option, and it goes with the car. It doesn't go with the driver. So
amazing.
I think the key point again, there's no tax on private sales. The R2 came out Rivian, so there's some competition for Tesla.
Yep.
And I think that's good. I think like they need to make better cars. There's a lot of talk out there that Rivian is an acquisition target for GM or Ford, because for them to get into that market. I mean, Rivian's doing a great job, and GM or Ford could use some of their resources. And
okay, one other thing I want to touch on, if people are watching this still like me, kind of going, when am I going to get into
when are you going to plunge?
But just in the last few months, haven't really heard much about this. All the noise made in the last few months. Oh, electric cars are so much heavier. They have to put special taxes in some provinces, because of the weight of the vehicle. So I started looking into it a little bit, and the numbers are all over the place, but maybe 25% heavier for the identical non-electric version. So what do you think of that?
I would say to those people, like, these like the 25% heavier on, say, a Model 3 is still like half the weight of a pickup truck. Right. So, but roads are designed for transport trucks, right? So these cars are not ruining the roads.
Right.
I mean, I think you could argue more so that they're not paying any gas tax that goes towards road repairs, and they should pay, portion of the road repairs. But
there's not an enormous difference in weight.
They're not hurting the roads because of their weight, right? I mean, I would say like, guys driving jacked up 1 tons, where, with big aggressive tires are causing more road damage than any EV will ever cause to the roads.
Probably.
Oh, I mean, sure. Spiked tires, anything with what you call studded tires.
Yeah.
That's not good for the roads.
No.
But, like there's a safety thing for the mountain passes and that, but they're definitely not good for the roads.
All right. Well, it was, it's more and more, there's used electric vehicles that,
so are we going to do a pool? When's Kent going to pull the trigger and buy himself an EV? I would recommend buying a used one for sure. Right now, like there's that advantage in buying. You get the depreciation's kind of like already been kind of taken off the table.
I am actually going to the island this weekend. Maybe I'll pop up to Sydney. I think there's
take a look at that. Like,
red Model S for sale.
Free supercharging, and I can tell you that Model S is all-wheel drive car too. All-wheel drive. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get an all-wheel drive car that has free fuel or energy for its whole life, and a battery is even if you have to replace the battery in that thing, they're about $10,000 to $12,000 in a Tesla. I phoned the Tesla dealer.
Right. Well, yeah, that was another one.
Just think about that though. Free fuel for life.
That is appealing.
It's probably going to be gone now. Somebody's going to buy it.
I know. That's in Sydney. It's red.
It's red. Your wife loves red.
I don't. And what was the mileage on that? Who knows? It's a good deal, whatever it is. Anyway, how long do you let these things go on for anyway?
I think this is long enough anyway.
Let's kill this.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay. Thanks for having me on board.
Hey, thanks for watching Kelowna Now.